let's talk a little bit more about research. So you have your topic. You have questions about your topic. And now you need to go about answering them. So you have to decide what type of research best suits your questions. Now, I have been told that this is the way to go about it. You find your questions first, and then you choose what kind of research you're going to do, because the questions will drive the type of research necessary. I will admit at this stage, I do not understand that entirely. I do not know the magic code that tells me what kind of research goes best with a certain type of question. I am sure that I will learn that through experience and through exposure and through discussion with teachers and mentors and all that jazz. Either way, you're now faced with a decision that you have research questions. Are they better suited to quantitative research or qualitative research? Basically, quantitative is take a step back. This is my personal view on the real difference between quantitative and qualitative research. And it boils down to validity and how you determine validity. With quantitative research, validity is determined by proving that there is a statistical significance to what you found, accounting for all the variables that it's possible to account for, and making your study as replicable as possible so that your data can be verified. And that is how validity is determined. How well you do at those things, how big your sample size is compared to what you need, how representative that sample is of a greater population. Numbers, 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 replicability, that's how we determine validity. Qualitative, on the other hand, has an entirely different method of determining validity. Validity is determined essentially by your argument. You argue that what you've done is valid, and if your argument is compelling, then your study is valid. You don't have to have huge sample sizes. You can study a single person over a long period of time, or even over a relatively brief period of time. But if you can make the argument that the observations and information you've gained by doing that are in some way meaningfully adding to the conversation about education or other forms of research, but for this purpose, let's stick with education, then that is considered valid, and you don't need to go through the same statistical justifications. Now, in education, there's a big split a lot of the time between the people who think quantitative is best, the people who think qualitative is best, and then the people who think you use the tool that's best suited to the job. And it's from that idea that mixed methods came about. Mixed methods is combining qualitative and quantitative, but I want to be clear. It is purposeful, and it is well designed, and it is not something done with cut and paste. You don't slap two things together that were for a similar purpose and say, hey look, I did a mixed methods research. You didn't. Mixed methods should be your purpose from the outset. Everything should be designed to flow together. Otherwise, what you've done is a quant-qual. You have done two different studies and reported the results at the same time. This is often called mixed methods, but it's not really the same thing. There has to be a coherence and a flow to it that justifies naming it mixed methods, as opposed to I asked the same question, then did two different projects and reported the results at the same time. Not as compelling. Now, validity in that case, I feel, is really, really murky, because you need to justify the quantitative part of it statistically, and you need to be able to then tie that justification in to your qualitative side and make them somehow interact with each other. I am not going to say that I have any idea how to do that, but I've read a few really well done mixed methods studies, and I've read enough of the quant-qual studies now to be able to see the difference. and not just assume that if they've done qualitative and quantitative at the same time, that means it's mixed methods. Personally, I am leaning towards mixed methods as my own choice in research. I think that it makes sense to me to try and look at things from two different sides, but I have not explored it deeply enough to say for sure what my, for instance, dissertation will be. And I also think that there needs to be some attention to how questions are constructed and what purpose you're serving. I could very easily ask a question that's only answerable through qualitative methods, and then you can't mix that. Then you're done. The opposite could be true, and I come up with a question that can only be answered quantitatively. I think those are rare, and that would be the method I would use. So, those are my 2 bits about research.